Welcome to the Talented Learning Show podcast series, episode 102. I'm your host, independent learning tech analyst John Lay of Talented Learning. Today, I interview Barry Lyons, operations director at Gencat, to explore how LMS technology, telematics, and personalized coaching are transforming professional driver development. You can find more of our fiercely independent content at talentedlearning.com. Well, welcome back, listeners. On this show, as you know, I am fortunate to interview world's leading experts in extended enterprise learning and learning as a business, professional education, from both the vendor and the practitioner sides of the fence. And today's guest from the practitioner side of the fence brings a lifetime of real-world experience to a learning challenge that spans continents. You know, across North America, I haven't thought about it. I didn't until I met Barry, but across North America, United Kingdom and Ireland and continental Europe, there's more than 6 million people that work as professional drivers, operating trucks, delivery vehicles, commercial fleets, and that really powers the modern economies. But while logistics and vehicle technology have evolved rapidly, driver training and safety programs have been stuck in the past. They're expensive, they're inconvenient, and they're really disconnected from real-world performance and also the real world availability of talent to do these things. And so the industry itself is really getting squeezed by lack of talent and lack of progressiveness. And our guest today is really trying to solve that, change this industry for the whole world, one company at a time, one driver at a time. Barry Lyons is on a mission. With 45 years in the transport industry, started as a truck mechanic, became a commercial driver, launched a driver's agency, built training and compliance services from the ground up. Now as operations director at Gencat, he helps clients use mobile-first learning systems, telematics, we're going to learn what that is, data-driven coaching to improve behavior, safety, and professionalism behind the wheel. He also co-founded the European Professional Drivers Association, sits on the board of the UICR, and helps the World ECO Driving Championships. Wow. In this episode, Barry shares how Gencat is helping organizations move beyond once-and-done compliance training to build a culture of continuous improvement through smart systems and real-time insights and a coaching-first approach that learning leaders in every industry can learn from. That's enough of the introduction. Barry, welcome to the Talented Learning Show. It's sure great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, John. Really looking forward to it.
Me too. Me too. We had a discussion here a few weeks ago, and it was just fascinating. And I knew that we had to bring you onto the show and tell your story because it's so relevant to our listeners and the training businesses that they're trying to build. But we're coming at it from a unique industry we've never talked about before, and so we're all going to learn a lot. So Barry is the operations director at Gencat, and let's start right there. Tell us what Gencat is. You know, what's your mission? And let's start right there.
Well, really, we have a very simple mission. Our mission is to support and develop a professional driving culture amongst professional drivers. So the company initially started off as a driver agency, and then it developed into compliance and training. So we have in Europe here, we have a lot of compliance regulations in road transport, much the same as North America, where Gencat actually have a presence. We work with a number of companies out in North America, providing support again through using LMS and using our content creation to support professional drivers out there to keep compliant with the regulations. So that's where we started off as a driver agency. So our background is really about professional driving. And again, when we moved into the training, where there was a requirement, like in 2006, a thing happened here in Europe is that drivers had to undergo mandatory annual training. So they had to attend a classroom session for 7 hours each year to hold the equivalent of a commercial driving license in North America. So that started 2008 for coach drivers, 2009 for truck drivers, and every 5 years you'd have that permit renewed. So this was classroom training. In Ireland, they made it up of 5 different modules covering from vehicle technology up to the role of the commercial vehicle driver. Now, you can stop me, John, if I'm talking too much, but there's an interesting thing in that when we think of a commercial vehicle driver, we think of one type of person doing a job. It's
Hmm.
not like that. In reality, it's not like that. There's maybe 32 different types of commercial vehicle driver out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's an industry that goes, as you all know, you'd know it goes 24/7. It's always somebody's always starting every hour in this business. A shift
Wow.
starts every hour.
Hmm. You
Some
mentioned
drivers
last
pardon?
I said you mentioned last time there's big overarching issues inside the industry as a whole of lack of talent or lack of a type of talent. I wonder if you could expand on that, I guess, through the lens of those 32 different drivers.
Yeah, well,
What?
okay, if we keep it in simple terms, like there's the guy who delivers your fuel to your fuel station to top up your car with petrol. This guy is a fuel tanker driver, yeah, and he's got a qualification in moving hazardous goods. So he's moving dangerous goods, hazmat. He's moving
Hmm.
that. Then we've got another driver. He's a livestock driver. He's moving cattle across states, one place to another. And then we've
Hmm.
another guy, and he's going to move your refrigerator out of your house and bring you in a brand new one. So there are three different guys, but the three of them are truck drivers driving the same truck, same type of truck. But none of those guys can do the other guy's job as competently as the guy who does that specific job. And it could take 6 months to train a guy to actually do a specific type of driving job. And we've 32 of those jobs that we've identified. Like if you take construction, there's so many different types of truck driving and coach driving jobs. There's like your bus driver who brings your kids to school. He's a different driver that brings you on tour. It's going to take you in a 10-day tour around, the States and show you Wyoming and all these great, fantastic places. He's a different guy. He can't do the school guy's job. He might hate kids, that fella. Do you know, you go, I can't stand a bus full of kids. They drive me mad. And the other bus driver go, well, I don't like hanging out with people for too long. A couple of hours does me. So it's all different types of characters. Uh, and then just there's so many different types of roles. But unfortunately, the stakeholders in the industry only see the guy's got a driving license, he's got a CDL, he's a driver, he can drive anything. And that's not the case. It
Hmm.
really isn't the
Hmm.
case. So
So you
in our
transfer.
role,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, John, our role like primarily is to identify the different types of driver and segment them, and then produce material to support the role that they're actually doing.
Hmm.
So, for example, if it was like some guy doing home delivery, go back to the guy doing appliances, and he's bringing appliances into people's homes, and he's probably installing them. Like he really has to have really good communication skills with the public. Like he's going to walk into someone's castle, their house, their home, and he has to abide by their rules and has to be polite, respectful. Even though he mightn't like the environment, he can't criticize it in any way. He can't do it. He has to like be in an environment that's, could be alien to him, but he still
Hmm.
has to manage that job and deal with the customers' expectations and satisfy a need for that customer to, bring the service that the customer paid for.
Hmm.
And that's another skill set all in itself. So we'd
Hmm.
have to do we train drivers in that actual aspect of crossing the threshold. Like it's a whole different world. And then we have you will have training on specific types of equipment, how to use like a tailgate out in a public area. Like it must be remembered here that drivers do face very difficult um, work environments. In that, if you go to like Walmart's distribution center, John, you wouldn't be allowed to walk in the gate there. They wouldn't let you in. And you'd say, well, why won't you let me in there? They'll say, well, it's too dangerous. There'd be trucks maneuvering in the yard there now. You can't go in there, John. You get knocked down. But yet they'll turn around to the truck driver and they'll say to him in Walmart, you head out there now down to the local supermarket there and reverse into the car park there and unload that truck. So it's a kind of like a two different worlds.
Two
And
different standards.
it really is. It really is two different standards. Like the employer knows how dangerous it is to have the public on their site because of trucks maneuvering, but they don't. They leave it up to the truck driver to manage that situation out in the public arena.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
you know,
Your customers are trucking companies, and they have a series of trucks that they maintain and a series of drivers that they maintain, and you're providing that on-site manual training for that 7 hours, for those different years, and then you reached a point that didn't work anymore, and you had to take your business electronic. You had to take your business online. Tell us about that and how that happened.
I'll tell you about the online part. We still have to go every 7 years, every year for 7 hours. And it's attendance based only, John. So there's no
Hmm.
you just have to turn up, sit there for 7 hours, and the box is ticked and can go home. So we didn't like that. And an opportunity came back in 2017. We were asked, could we train drivers in how to reduce fuel consumption and reduce CO2 emissions? We said,
Mm.
yeah, we'll give that a try. So what we had to do there in 2017 was to bring them in the classroom, sit them down, explain the workings of the engine, how it produces CO2, how it uses fuel, and how to reduce fuel consumption by maximizing the performance of the engine in the under the conditions that you're actually driving in. So that was great. That was great. Only problem with that is it's very hard to get a group of drivers into the same room on the same day to give training. So without disrupting the operations of that particular transport operation. So that we did that. We had about 300 and odd drivers on that, and our results were good, and the feedback was positive. But we didn't get everyone covered. We had about 500 to cover. We got about 320 covered. Then we thought we were introduced to this LMS. And we didn't know anything about this at all. Like we were really PowerPoint, and it was face to face and one to one, and drivers would ask questions and you'd answer a question on a particular aspect. So the LMS seemed to be like disconnected, we thought. It wasn't face to face with the driver, and we had to kind of like see, well, how will this work? So anyway, we started with a great company, Eurekos. They kind of like handheld us for a little while, and we trusted them. They were just very good to deal with. And we trusted them, and they kind of, no, no, this will work for you. So we generated our content, and what we realized then was that we could run video, we could go into specific detail about specific things very quickly for each individual model of vehicle that was driven. So, for example, if we had a truck that had an exhaust brake system, and then we had another truck that had a jake brake system, we could actually tailor the training to the individual, to the truck that he drove with the system that he operated. So for driver A, we could just give him the information about the jake brake. For driver B, we could give him the information about the exhaust brake. So that kind of appealed to us in a big way. Then what we realized about this whole area is that we could tailor information very, very quickly. It was so quick to change, where if we were in the classroom environment, you'd have to wait till the next class, and you wouldn't be able to do what you can do with that platform that we were operating on. The next big thing about it was that we introduced telematics data into our program. We always had telematics data. So how our system actually worked was we would take drivers in, train them. We would monitor their performance for 12 weeks. Then we would go and train them. And then we would coach them for 12 weeks after that. So we give them the information. We monitor them to get a baseline data on their performance at the end of the result. we then measure the performance and we'd see the difference. And that's where we come up with the fuel savings and the CO2 savings.
Mhm. What are
And we use
telemetrics? Just define it for us that don't know.
the metrics. The metrics would be
Telemetrics. What's that mean?
oh, telematics, right?
Or telematics?
Every vehicle has an onboard computer.
Mm.
And the computer, there's a couple of computers on it, and they're all connected together on what they call a CAN bus, a network. And there's a computer talking, managing the braking system, and there's a computer managing the suspension system, and there's a computer managing the engine and the transmission, and they talk to one another. And we can pick up that data from the vehicle. So I would know if a driver is um, using all of the devices on the vehicle as they should be used. Or I could identify a device that the driver is not using correctly or not using at all. And it may be a device that would support his um, his driving behavior. It would help him um, get better performance from his vehicle if he knew how to use it. So with the telematics data coming into us, we could identify where the driver needed support. Then we could go and take a piece from the manufacturer, like we could take a video from the manufacturer about that specific aspect and upload it onto his file and get him to have a look at that. And say, you need to have a look at this. And that was the coaching aspect of the program. This is where after the training, then we'd coach them. So we'd be taking in the telematics data, reviewing it, and seeing where the driver needed support in order to achieve the goals that were set out.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, that was really good. And there's a new element to that further down the line is where we use a large language model and AI to select the data that's required. And this is where it
Wow.
gets really interesting because we got ourselves involved with a project that was designed to identify driver impairment, right? And this was a European funded project that we got involved in. And in identifying that, they could identify whether the driver was impaired from fatigue, tired. I could identify whether he was on taking alcohol or a drug, and they could break down. And this was all done with a large language model and AI and some biometrics, but very simple, like a smartwatch was the information they were drawn from. But it proved to be very effective. And we asked the AI guys, we just happened to ask them, they were a Swedish company. And we just asked them the question, if you can identify poor driver impairment through alcohol and drugs and fatigue, could you identify driving behavior in the categories of good, very good, and excellent? And they said, yes, we could. So I said, okay, now we're on to something really, really,
Now we're
really
getting
good.
somewhere.
Now we're getting somewhere. Now we can like with all of those tools, we could actually, support uh, uh, the development of a much safer road network for everybody, a much more like a better job, much more job satisfaction for drivers.
Hmm.
And again, I'm not jumping around, but because stakeholders don't really know what the role of their driver is, they don't really know when they flog them to death. Do you know?
Yeah.
They just don't know. And the driver's out there and he's pushing on and pushing on and pushing on. And he doesn't know that he's been flogged or he's getting fatigued. And then we have all these, I'm fed up with this industry. They're burnt out, you know. So we could see that using data, using platforms to communicate with drivers. And if we go back to the first model we had, our only form of communication was in a classroom and then an email if he got it,
If you
if
got
the
it.
transport manager gave him the copy. But now technology has jumped so far fast ahead, we can like straight to his phone in a format that comes clear on the phone to him. He can read the video, he can answer questions, he can be quizzed on the phone, and he can do this in his time. when he's ready to do it. He could be
Hopefully, when he's
part
not
of the.
driving.
He's not driving. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that's one of the modules. Distracted drive. We don't do that. We wouldn't even think of
Right.
that. You know. So this allows the driver to select the time when he feels it's appropriate for him to undertake a module of his course. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you think
this
this do you think this helps towards their satisfaction of staying with the same organization by taking this training and becoming more effective, or is it more of a benefit you think for the organizations to have better drivers and it's less of a driver benefit? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I tell you, everyone's a winner in this case because,
Yeah.
like, everyone's a winner. You know, the industry is crying out for drivers because they've got a very serious driver churn, and they have um uh, uh like an aging population. I think the average age for a commercial vehicle driver in Europe now at the moment is running at about 52 years of age. And
Wow.
the average age for an international driver, so an over the road driver in Europe is running about 48 years of age.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're
Wow.
very old. And how this actually helps is when I come back to the different types of driver, I've said there's 30 different types. Now, if we broke those 30 different types down into novice, professional, senior professional, and master driver, now we've 120 different types of driver.
Wow.
Drivers are not given any recognition for their level of knowledge, expertise, or experience. Nobody gets it. They,
Hi.
yeah, they don't. I'm serious. They don't get it. So I'm driving, say, 40 years, and if a guy got his driving license today, he is seen the same as me on a CV. He's just seen the same,
Unbelievable.
and we're paid the same. It makes no sense. It just makes no sense. So if you want to, show some respect to a driver, you'll recognize his level of experience and expertise and
Hmm.
knowledge.
And that's what
And
you're
these,
trying to drive with your new model of whether you're a good driver and using AI across all these different types.
yeah, yeah,
You're
we've
trying to
got
drive
AI is
that in the
going to tell
industry.
us. Yeah, AI is going to support the recognition of the level of skill of the driver. From a safety perspective, when industry gets to grips with this, they'll understand that there's certain drivers they shouldn't give particular types of jobs to at that moment in their career. They're not ready for it.
Hmm.
So and if a driver moves from one industry from the hazmat industry to the refrigeration industry, he's not the same driver. He needs like assistance to bed into the new systems, and it goes beyond that. It goes to get on to understand the product that you're carrying, understand the customers you're delivering to. And there's a lot of learning for a driver, and this system would accommodate that, make it a much more rewarding job, you know. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
But before the organization, you've been able to then tie the telematics into the training, get the right training, coach them on a regular basis, measure how they're driving afterwards, and then start seeing some organizational results. What are those results that you've seen across these fleets?
well, the overall average was like we had a 6.4% fuel saving,
Wow.
which in our program there in that project we undertook was 33.5 million liters of fuel saved, and no incentive, John. The drivers were not incentivized. There was no incentive given to them. And this was the brilliant part because we needed to see did our system work? Like where if I incentivized you to do this, you'd say, okay, you're going to give me money to save fuel. Okay, I'll save fuel. So all I have to do is pull up at some fuel pump and throw in 20, $50 of fuel, and you're going to give me $200 of a bonus because you'll have thought I saved that amount of fuel.
Hmm.
You know, so we just wanted to see how the system drivers would react to it, and they did. And now, when I say overall 6.4%, I'm saying like that some guys got minus 2%, some guys got plus 12%.
Hmm.
15%, but overall 6.4.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Um, Improved drivers out of 1,080 drivers, improved are 529. You know, um, improved fuel consumption 278. And then, of course, 70 of them have deteriorated. And then, another amount you wouldn't have you'd have insufficient data to come with an actual very specific result for all sorts of
Hmm.
reasons. They may have
Hmm.
changed vehicles, the crossovers, moved firm, all sorts of stuff, in the time
Hmm.
that the program was running. But
Well.
overall, it was a very successful program. But more for us as a company here, it was the technology and the future benefits of that technology are yet to be unleashed on the
Hmm.
road transport sector. It's going to make a big change to the way people um, look at the role of the professional driver and the way the professional driver looks at his own role. He look at it
Hmm.
different, So we will see a very significant change in the way it's done. And of course, like we've got, autonomous vehicles coming, and they're coming. There's no doubt about it. They're here already. We're using them. They'll be used more. And we need, even in that sector, they require the knowledge of these very experienced and knowledgeable drivers to support that activity. If some guy's managing five or six vehicles from a laptop somewhere, they're going to need a guy in there who knows what the vehicle can and can't do. Or otherwise, the system will come to a gridlock. You
Hmm.
know, traction is lost or something on a vehicle, it'll just stop. If so,
Hmm.
you'll see a lot of. I think a lot of the autonomous driving will come from from the passenger sector first.
Hmm.
We'll
Hmm.
we'll see it out. Uh, we won't see the transportation for goods on national roads. We'll see the transportation of goods on private roads um, first before we see nationally. You'll see some fella, maybe doing over the road from depot to depot. Very simple, straightforward stuff. But for the most part, like when you do order your washing machine, the autonomous vehicle will not deliver that for you.
Wow.
Unless you're very strong and you're able to use a hand truck and pull it into your house and bring the old one out and connect it. Yeah, bit of that.
Bit of that. So what's on the horizon? What are you gonna, looking 3 years from now, how is your training business going to be different?
Well, it's going to be very, very different from where it was in 2017. There's no doubt about that. And at the rate technology is kicking in and um, the way we're approaching the role of the professional driver, we would be one of the only companies that we're aware of that has such an approach, towards the driver. We understand the driver because mainly all the guys in the company were drivers are, were very connected with drivers in some aspect. So, and it is a driving company, like it's our golf for a lot of us, like we're running the Irish Professional Driving Championships in September, and we have six members from the American Trucking Association joining us. They want to see what we're at up in Europe, and we're in preparation for the World Professional Driving Championships, which takes place in Germany in 2026. We've got 21 Finnish drivers coming in from Finland, of course, with three world champions in their team. And we have a contingent from Brazil coming over to have a look, to try it out, to see what it's all about. So yeah, these are exciting times for us as a company. That's what we're into. We just
Yeah.
passionate about the role of the truck and coach driver, Yeah, so we're really looking forward to particularly working with the large language models and the AI. That's something we'd really like to get into, but the cost, there is a cost element at the moment to get into that, to do the research and build these models. There's a lot of resources required to do that,
For now.
So we'll see. We will see. Coming off the EU project, the Fit Drive project, there may be some scope there for us because a lot of the groundwork for the project we're talking about evaluating the level of driver knowledge, experience, and expertise, is actually already built into the project that developed the identification for fatigue and
Mm.
misuse of drugs and stuff like that.
Wow, interesting. All right, we're out of time. What a great conversation again, but I want to tap into your experience for others here. So, what advice would you give to other training providers, whether that's in logistics or, field service or safety intensive industries, about moving from compliance training to culture building? What was the biggest thing that you learned, maybe that you did wrong, that if you had to go back, you'd do it differently? What's your best advice?
Well, okay. It's you can't do anything wrong.
Mm,
If you're doing nothing, you're doing something wrong. You gotta do something, even if it's what people perceive to be the wrong thing. There'll be plenty of them out there. But you just have to believe in what you're doing. You have to have a belief in it. And there'll be so many people out there who will kind of try to rock that belief. Don't let them. But look at the technology. Look what you can do in your industry. You can take like it's so easy now to create content, like really good, visually appealing content. And pictures paint 1,000 words, and video must paint 1 trillion.
mm.
You can just show people without saying a word and then they get it. It's that button, press that button. It's simple. And we could only do it with this technology. So I'd say there's a great future for trainers in any industry. And to create that culture is you must have a belief in that yourself. You must truly believe that culture is the right thing to be involved with. Yeah.
Wow. Barry Lyons, sage advice, operations director at Gencat. You can explore more about Gencat at gencat.ie and see what we're talking about. And if you're a trucking company and want to change your culture, for sure, reach out to Barry and his team as they're getting pretty good at it, as you heard today. Listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Show podcast series. This was a great one, covering new ground, really interesting, and I hope you learned a lot. And we'll see you on the next, and you can find more of our fiercely independent content at talentedlearning.com.